Fakahatchee Strand is a unique habitat and a sacred place for those who appreciate Florida's raw natural beauty. Not too long ago, however, this now protected strand swamp was desecrated. During the 1940s and 50s, nearly all of its old-growth bald cypress were harvested for lumber. At the same time, wild orchids were being poached by the wagon load to satisfy the demands of wealthy collectors. Today, the Fakahatchee is again a lush, subtropical paradise, but ghostly reminders of its grim past remain. About 30 miles to the north, Corkscrew Swamp Sanctuary gives us a glimpse of what the Fakahatchee might have looked like. Gigantic bald cypress trees tower over pond apple swamps, and one of these cypress trees is host to another giant. The now famous Super Ghost is the largest known ghost orchid specimen in Florida, and is the only ghost orchid in Florida whose location is advertised. The massive root structure can be seen from the boardwalk, but at 40 feet from the ground it would be impossible to steal. The Super Ghost has been known to produce up to 15 blooms at a time. Today, a professional climber will be doing something that has never been done here before. His job is to carefully harvest a seed pod, which may carry over 2 million dust-sized ghost orchid seeds. The pod will be sent to Atlanta Botanical Gardens in Atlanta, Georgia, to be studied and potentially propagated. As it turns out, Atlanta Botanical Gardens is an epicenter for other orchid restoration projects back in South Florida.
The Atlanta Botanical Garden is a private, nonprofit garden in the heart of Atlanta. It houses a world-class collection of orchids, among other important collections. And carnivorous plants, orchids, those also form the heart of our conservation program, one that we work throughout the southeastern region. The Atlanta Botanical Garden is uniquely qualified for doing the restoration projects that we do because our horticultural staff is so fantastic. They really know what they're doing. They're experts. They can grow some of the rarest things.
One of the rarest orchids in South Florida is a flamboyant species named Certopodium punctatum, or the cigar orchid. The cigar orchid was a favorite among collectors and poachers, and was harvested to near extinction. Until recently, there were approximately 100 individuals remaining in Florida. In 2007, Atlanta Botanical Garden began working with park biologists at Fakahatchee Strand Preserve State Park to restore its disappearing population of cigar orchids. After hand-pollinating a few specimens, seed pods were produced, and some of those seeds were sent back to Atlanta. It's here, in the Atlanta Botanical Gardens state-of-the-art facility, where a new generation of cowhorn orchids are being propagated.
We sterilize the seed first, then we wait for it to germinate. Usually does happen in the dark. After that, we'll transfer the germinating protocorms to the light for a few weeks till they green up, and then we'll move those to fresh media where they'll grow to a couple inches high, transferred again onto a more nutrient-rich media, higher sugars and carbs in that media, where they'll stay for probably about a year before being transferred to the greenhouse. To get a plant ready for large enough to go to the field, we're talking probably 4 years in production here from start to finish in the greenhouse.
Once these cigar orchid specimens are large enough to outplant, they're ready for a long road trip to the Fakahatchee. Back in South Florida, Jenny and Matt are working with biologists from Florida International University to outplant the endangered orchids. The FIU team is led by Dr. Hong Liu and her graduate students, Jason Downing, Heidi Borrero, and Mario Cisneros. Dr. Liu studies endangered plant ecology. The cowhorn orchid is an exceptional plant with a complicated history in South Florida. Because this species was poached to near extinction, genetic diversity is a concern in the Fakahatchee population, which had crashed to as few as 20 plants. With this and other unique factors in mind, the cowhorn is an ideal candidate for this long-term conservation project and case study.
So thus far, there are more than 900 plants outplanted in the Fakahatchee, and the goal is to reach about 1,000, and so we're going to reach the goal this year.
An outplanting expedition in the Fakahatchee is a real adventure. This is as wild as Florida gets, and you have to be willing to put up with the thorns, muck, and alligators, not to mention the occasional cottonmouth. For these folks, it's all worth it for the sake of science and conservation.
During an outplanting expedition, we'll have Atlanta Botanical Garden bring seedlings that has at least 2 pseudobulbs and at least 10 centimeters or 7 to 10 centimeters long, so they are large enough to have a little bit of toughness in them. And so we'll carry those seedlings along with our zip ties to secure the plants, and ladders and climbing ropes. We scout out the site and we pull those plants from low eye level to all the way to 5 meter tall. We're still in the experimental stage and we don't know which position, which height is the best for them. So we are planting at all different heights, and eventually we'll learn from our outplanting experiments.
This is an ambitious project, one that requires just the right strategic partnerships and expertise. But with scientific rigor and a little luck, restoration projects like these can help the Fakahatchee and other unique habitats around the world blossom once again.